Okay, let's look for some more insight into DeepSeek and how it is shaking up the AI sector. For that, we turn to Amr Awadallah. He is founder and CEO of Vectara, a generative AI company. Amr, good to see you again.
It's good to see you too.
Okay, by now, just about everyone who cares has heard about DeepSeek. It's literally caused a tsunami through the global markets on Monday for its efficiency and how cheaply it was developed compared to U.S. heavyweights. Was it an overreaction on Monday?
No, it was not an overreaction. This is significant on a number of fronts. So the first front is that many of the U.S. players, they were in their minds and maybe a little bit arrogant, thinking that they're 2 years ahead of China. There is no way that China or a Chinese startup would produce a model that is as superior and matches the models that we have right now. So they truly believe that we're 2 years ahead of anything that can happen there. And this proved that completely to be false, because this new model matches and even exceeds the best models that we have here in the US right now. So that was number one. Number two, and this is really the most fundamental thing. I mean, people focus on how much it takes to train the model. That was very impressive. They actually trained it very economically. But the more impactful thing, and that's kind of what led to the big drop with Nvidia and others, is the model can produce the same quality of results as our top models here in the US for 1/30th of the cost, right? So I can run that model with 1/30th of the power requirements, with 1/30th of the GPU hardware. And this is really what changes the economics completely of what can be done.
Yeah. Okay, so
and third, it's open source. Anybody can grab it. So I plan on grabbing it and using it in my organization, as opposed to depending on OpenAI or Anthropic, which are very, very expensive.
You and everybody else, the #1 app right now on Apple.
Yes.
Okay, so Donald Trump has said it should be a wake-up call for U.S. companies.
Yes.
How were Chinese developers able to do this so cheaply and so quickly?
So two things. I mean, we have this famous saying that the need is the biggest mother of invention, or need is the mother of invention, right? So it's because the Chinese developers were constrained in terms of the hardware resources they're able to use because of the U.S. laws prohibiting certain types of graphics cards of being sold into China. They came up with a lot of optimization techniques that were genius in terms of how they're leveraging the hardware, and that brought down the cost. But also they came up with a couple of very clever ideas in terms of how to train the model itself to evolve the reasoning capabilities that the most advanced models that we have in the US right now exhibit.
Okay, so the U.S. has made it its mission to keep its best, most costly, most effective high-tech chips out of China. What does DeepSeek's success mean to that? And clearly, China's top leadership is very pleased with this success.
Absolutely, there's no question about it. I mean, China should be proud, and I congratulate them. I mean, I absolutely congratulate them. They should be very proud of this moment. I personally think that this moment will push all of us forward. Like, this is Mark Andreessen of Andreessen Horowitz, and the inventor of the web browser. He called it the Sputnik moment for the US. For those that don't remember, Sputnik was when Russia got their satellite out in the space wars before the US, and that woke up the US to move much quicker. And this is exactly the same thing. Like, they were complacent. They were arguing about, oh, AI this, AI that. They were not really paying attention to developing advanced models. So now to see China come in with this amazing thing that caught up to us for a fraction of the cost wakes up the companies here to try and move much faster. So we look at this as a very positive moment overall for all of us, for human civilization as overall.
Perhaps the most sobering 24 hours could have belonged to the leaders at Nvidia. They lost billions of dollars in revenue on paper on Monday. They recouped some Tuesday. But what is the overall impact on U.S.-based tech firms like Nvidia, who are riding high and probably popping champagne every day, like, hey, we are really in the lead right now?
Yeah, so two things. I mean, I'm not a stock financial analyst, so I'm an AI expert, so take my words here with a grain of salt. But essentially what's happening is Nvidia was overvalued. Like, let's be honest, they were incredibly overvalued given the revenues and even the growth rate that they have, which is very impressive. So, but that was under the assumption that we need this much power and we need this much GPUs to train and serve. And DeepSeek just proved we don't need this much. We need this much, 1/30th of what it was before. That over the long term will produce better results for all of us. There is no question about it. And Nvidia will do well over the long term. But in the short term, over the next 2, 3, 4 years, it affects all of the math in our spreadsheets for how much revenues Nvidia is going to be able to make. And that's why they took the hit that they took. So I think the market was looking for a reason to correct a bit on Nvidia, and that was the reason why that happened.
Okay, Amr, what do we look for in the days, weeks, and months ahead? Trump just last week made a huge spectacle of his AI infrastructure plan, Stargate. Will companies still want to seek hundreds of billions of dollars into this, or will they say, wait a minute, we should be able to do this less costly, less reliance on our money?
I believe we still will need to invest a lot, because the serving, now as these AI models become applied in business use cases for law, for medicine, for education, the demand will still be off the charts in terms of the serving. So the demand will go up over time. But the margins that the infrastructure companies can make will go down over time because of this competitive nature. I equate it, for example, to flash drives. When you buy a flash drive from SanDisk or Samsung, these are very, very technologically advanced devices, but the margins are so thin because of the commoditization effect. So I believe overall the market will grow, by the way. Like the amount of money that will make all of us collectively will go up over time. The amount of need for semiconductor will go up over time, but competition will lead to the margins dropping. Yeah. Nvidia cannot get hooked on the same high margins they were hoping to keep capturing over time as competition comes into effect. The other thing I want to note, the bigger impact here is actually on OpenAI. OpenAI is in significant trouble right now, in my humble opinion. They were trying to increase the prices for OpenAI from $20 per month to $200 per month, and there was rumors they were going to increase it for the advanced reasoning models to be $2,000 per month. They can't do that anymore, because right now we have DeepSeek doing the same thing for $0 per month. Right? So Nvidia, OpenAI actually is in much more bigger trouble, in my opinion.